Great, so we're now in grade 7 math, chapter 2.6. We're now on the back side of the sheet. We completed the first side of the sheet. So now let's take a look at some problems again. So just to recall, very important as before, if we're looking at percent problems, is knowing this relationship of part over whole equals P over 100. So this is the percent side, so the percent side equals part over the whole. And so it's really important to figure out what is the part and what is the whole in your problem, so that we can find out what percent is that part of the whole. So Brian and his family went for dinner and the total bill before tax was $80. The tip is generally 15% of the bill before tax, and then the tax is 13%. Calculate the tip on $80. So take a look at the tip. The tip is generally 15%. So let's just put then 15% will change into fraction form. So that's 15 over 100. This is the same thing as 15%. And now we need to figure out what our part and our whole is. Well, our whole amount was the $80. And so we're trying to figure out what is the tip amount, and I'll just call it the tip for now. What is the tip part of that $80? So given this, I can now use a cross multiplication. The tip equals $80 times 15 divided by 100, and I find out that the tip amount equals $12. That means that I'll be giving a little bonus of $12 to the waiter or to the waitress, just to say thank you and as appreciation of that person serving us for the meal. That's what a tip is. And so generally it's about 15%. Now, the second question is calculate the tax on $80. Now, pause the video and try the same thing. You try to figure out what the percentage is, what the part is, and what the whole is, and what we need to solve. After you tried out this problem, you realize that the percent now is 13 out of 100 because this is the tax amount, or 13%. And now it's tax over $80. $80 would have been the whole amount. And so now the tax amount is equal to, and if I do cross multiplication again, I find out the tax to be equal to $10.40. The total payment is just a combination of the original bill, which is $80, plus the tip, plus the tax. So the tax ended up being $10.40, and the tip ended up being $12. So that means in total, my dinner will cost $102.40. Okay, so now we have another problem. What I'd like you to do is just pause the video and see if you can answer this problem and see if we get the same answers. When you're given a word problem, just write the information that you know, change all your percents over to ratios, and see if we can find out what the part and the whole are. During an oil spill, 42 million liters of oil were spilled. Cleanup crews recovered 14% of that oil that was spilled. About how many liters were recovered and how many liters of oil remained? Well, we have the number 14%, and we can always change that into a fraction. So 14% is the same thing as 14 out of 100. Now the second part we need to do is figure out what the part and the whole is. The part and the whole. Well, what does this 14% mean? So 14% was recovered of the total oil that was spilled. So the total oil that was spilled was the 42 million liters of oil. So I'll put 42 million. I can also rewrite it as a number, 42 with 60 afterwards. And then I have to figure out what the part is. Well, let's call this R because this stands for the recovered amount of oil. Well, I used my cross multiplication, and the recovered oil, or R equals 42 million times 14 divided by 100. And I'll just take out the million for now, and I'll just put the word million in afterwards. So 42 times 14 divided by 100 is 5.88. Because I took out the word million, I'll have to put that back in. So this was million. And so now my answer is in million. Million what? So let's just take a look. Million liters of oil. So this is 5.88 million liters of oil. What is this? Is this the amount that remained, or is this the amount that was recovered? Well, if I go back, this R represents the recovered oil. So it's 5.88 million liters of oil were recovered. If I want to draw an image of that, so let's say this is my oil slick. Well, it's red. And this is 42 million liters of oil. Of that, 14% was recovered. So if I take about 14%, we recovered, or we took back this amount. This was 5.88 million liters of oil, or 14%. How many liters of oil remained? Well, remaining is this white part that was not picked up. The remaining amount is 42 million liters of oil minus the 5.88 million liters of oil that were recovered. And that ends up giving me 36.12 million liters remain. And if I want to convert that to the number, that's 336,120,000 liters of oil. Great. There's a couple more questions talking about Aaron's music class, and then there's a couple of questions using part and whole without a number problem, without the word problem, and we'll be able to answer those in class on Thursday. So hopefully you understood this lesson. Try out the couple of problems that are at the bottom of this page, and we'll get the answers in class. And then you can try to complete this homework as well for the